I am so pleased and honored to have the chance to speak to you one last time as a class before you depart from Charlottesville. The very first time that I ever spoke to a class in this building, it was to you on your first day in the building as well, I believe. And since then, I've had the chance to meet and to get to know well many of you and to work with you. And that has been a tremendous, tremendous pleasure. I recognize that in many instances, I live in what is probably an uncomfortable and stressful corner of your lives. There are moments when you have arrived at my door for an appointment and it looked very much like you would be quite pleased to trade this appointment for an appointment with your dentist. And I understand that. You've let my colleagues and me witness the successes that you've had. You have done us the honor of coming to us when you have faced challenges. And in many cases, those challenges are not yet at an end. But through it all, you've been remarkable. You have been strong and resilient. You've worked hard, and you've maintained that positive spirit for which you're well known throughout the country and throughout the world of legal employers. And I know I speak for all my colleagues as I kind of kick this off by just letting you know that we all feel that our lives are so much richer for having had the chance to have worked with you over these years. And I know that the employers that you go on to work with in the future are going to feel the same way. So although the job market remains challenging and we have work that remains to do, I know that that is not what you brought me here to discuss tonight. And so for this 1/2 hour, we're going to turn away from the challenges that we've faced and are facing, and from plotting immediate career strategy and focusing on a larger picture. In thinking about what I should say at this event, I tried to think back to what people had said at events like this that I attended when I was in your shoes, and I have to admit, not only couldn't I remember what they said, I couldn't even remember who they were. And I had this epiphany, this moment where I thought, you know, if I really want to be remembered, I should show up and I should give the charge to the class like in a chicken suit. And I thought at least then they're going to come back for their 20th reunion and they'll say, do you remember that crazy guy from Career Services? What was his name? When he showed up for the charge to the class in the chicken suit? And unfortunately, the libel show stole my idea and had a bunch of people in animal costumes dancing around a keg last month, so I had to go back to the drawing board. But having spent 3 years speaking almost exclusively with law students and almost exclusively with millennial law students, I think I have a pretty good sense of what it is that you are all looking for as you head out into the world. And as a late baby boomer, some parts of that worldview and vision, you know, matches pretty well with what I thought I was looking for when I headed out into the world as well. I know that you are people who want to succeed and achieve and be recognized for your success. And as an aside, I should note that in that respect, and in very many respects that I observe, you do parallel the boomers very well, and you should not lightly overlook that as you head out into the marketplace and into your jobs and into the other aspects of your lives, because the boomers are kind of natural allies for you out in the workforce, the old guys and gals like me, and I think you will find in them ready allies and supporters. But in some ways you differ from us in the sense that so many of the boomers climbed and climbed and climbed without having much of a sense of what it was we were climbing or even what we were climbing to. And what I see in your class that is different than that is a desire for not just success but also for happiness. And not happiness as some future commodity, but as something that is an important part of your life now and in the period going forward. And so, as I got ready to speak with you, I went off into one of my quiet places and I sat for a long time and I thought about the attorneys who I know, who I consider to both be very successful and also very happy people. And I tried to think about what it was that they share in common. And I came to settle on 3 things. And I'm not going to say that these are the only 3 things that you need to survive or that this is some kind of a magical formula to happiness. I mean, this is a public school, and so there are some topics that I will necessarily leave on the table that I think are critical to happiness. But I do believe that all 3 of these are things that will enhance your lives if you focus on them, enhance your careers, regardless of where you're going, regardless of what the next step is in your life. So the first area that I'd like to discuss is work. And what a surprise, right? We've talked a lot about jobs. We've talked about finding them and keeping them. But what I wanted to talk to you about a bit was about finding happiness and fulfillment in the work that you do. You walk out of the doors of this institution so uniquely qualified, your mind so exquisitely prepared to practice law. But I would submit to you that it's not just your minds that will determine whether you're going to be happy in the roles that you're moving into. I mean, interestingly, a huge part of happiness as a lawyer, and really as almost anything, seems to be wrapped up in the way that you approach the job. And in short, I think it's important that you care deeply about what you'll be doing. And not that you create the impression that you care, and not that you convince your boss or your clients or your colleagues that you care, but that you actually deeply care. The happiest lawyers that I know are characterized by the simple fact that they care deeply about advancing the interests of their clients. And that does not mean that they don't like winning cases or putting bad guys in jail or settling closing big deals or making money or the prestige of being a lawyer or all the other things that go with this profession. But what it does mean is that the main driver for them, the thing that is the chief motivator for them and the chief mover, is their sense that they are engaged in something that is important in the work that they're doing for others, and that they care deeply about the outcome of that work. The people I'm thinking about are not all sunny optimists. To the contrary, most of them are stark realists. But because they care deeply about what they're doing, and because they're devoted fully to their clients' goals, they're able to fight through difficult arguments and assignments and hard cases, and even settings where they don't feel like the work that they're doing is necessarily perfectly aligned with them. Even when there are times when they feel like they want to turn their back and walk away from it. And ironically, the person who, in my experience, kind of best captured this ability to kind of care deeply about work as a lawyer is someone who is not a lawyer. He was a former death row inmate that a number of my colleagues represented over the course of about 2 decades. And I got to meet him through one of the when you work at a firm for a long time, you do all kinds of crazy projects. And one of the projects I had to do was overseeing the production of a pro bono video. And it was great fun. I mean, we had a great production company. We had a lot of talented people involved. And we began the project with the lawyer's presumption. Of course, the lawyer's presumption is that when you want to do something really well, you get a lawyer to do it, right? And if you want to do it really, really well, you get a bunch of lawyers to do it. And so we went out and we taped a bunch of lawyers talking about their pro bono cases. And it was nice. I mean, it was very affirming and uplifting, but there was something seriously missing from it. And so one of my colleagues, who went on to be our first pro bono partner, said, what if we got some of the clients, the non-lawyer clients, to come in and talk? And we all went, oh wow, what a good idea. And so we did. We brought them in and we taped them telling their stories, and of course they completely stole the show. And the one that was the most amazing was this gentleman who was a former death row inmate. And having spent his entire childhood and his entire adolescence kind of on the mean streets, and virtually all of his adulthood in solitary confinement in Angola State Penitentiary, we weren't exactly sure what to expect when he came in to talk about what it was to do pro bono work. But John sat down, and in one take, he pretty much knocked us all flat after giving a very impassioned plea for why it was important for lawyers to do pro bono work. He looked into the camera and he very simply said, be that difference maker. Be that one who is never going to give up. Be that one who is fully dedicated to what you took an oath to be, a lawyer. And it wasn't just what John said, it was the way he said it, because when he said the words a lawyer, he didn't say it the way that we often hear about it, where it is a minor or maybe not so minor slur or the punchline to a joke. When he said the words a lawyer, he said it as a badge of honor. He said it with respect and with awe, because when he sat rotting in solitary for crimes that he did not commit, and he wondered what in the world had happened that would put him here, the words a lawyer represented the people who were on the outside, who cared deeply about his situation, who would not quit in pursuing his cause, and who did so long before it was clear that he was innocent, when everyone was telling him that they would lose, and when there was no apparent advantage to them or their careers from doing so. Now, lest you get the sense that what I'm saying here is, when you are representing innocent people on death row, you should care deeply. This goes far beyond that. We had here about a month ago one of our alums. He came in the evening to talk to the 1Ls about his practice. He's a mergers and acquisitions lawyer. And as he talked through the deals that he had done, some of which had been done in a way that no one else had ever tried, he had this smile on his face. He almost had a glint in his eye as he was talking about it. And I'm a former litigator, so it's hard to get me too lit up about mergers and acquisitions, but he was lit up about it because he cared deeply about what he was doing. And to his clients who had, he talked about taking these virtually impossible client goals and turning them into tangible reality, and how incredible it felt to do that. And to those clients, he was their difference maker, right? He was their one who was not going to quit in getting done what they wanted him to do. He was their lawyer. And I guess one last point, not to put too fine a point on it, but I'm not saying that you've got to find some kind of mystic combination between job and you, where it just all clicks into, the magic tumblers click into place and you know that this is the work you're meant to do. What I'm saying to you is that your life will be richer if you care deeply about whatever it is you were doing for your clients at the time that you were doing it. The people who I know who embody this do not wake up every day saying, thank goodness I'm in my dream job. They wake up every day saying, thank goodness I wake up today with a dream for what I can do with this job. So, my first charge to you is to care deeply about what you're doing in your work. Now, I've talked for a minute about work. I'm going to talk for less time, but not less importantly, for a minute about play. And I can see the eyes already beginning to roll in this room. Like, you are going to tell us about play? We're already experts. And indeed you are. You play with such vigor and enthusiasm at times that it is utterly terrifying to us. But what we love about watching you play is that it is so characterized by joy. Even when things are hard, almost especially when things are hard, you band together joyously and enjoy one another's company. It's one of the reasons why I love to go to the libel show, even when they make fun of me. But it's with a little regret that I have to tell you that where you are heading, it is not as easy to play. Out in the real world, they work just as hard in February as they do in all the other months. You're heading into the busy years, and you're heading into years when there will be so many competing demands on your time. You're heading for years when the work alone will threaten to swallow every minute, not to mention the time it'll take to maintain relationships and children and outside commitments. Your time for play is going to be squeezed in ways that you can't even imagine right now. And when I think of the play of attorneys who I know who are both successful and happy, it's really characterized by one simple thing. And that is that it involves doing something that feeds them in some uniquely individual way. And I think what you're going to find is that as you move through life, those are going to be different things for you at different times. When I was your age, about 1 million years ago, the thing that fed me the most was I loved to compete at just about anything, at the drop of a hat. And as I worked my way deeper and deeper into a job that had such a strong cornerstone of competition in it, I found that fed me less and less. And the more that I was involving myself in things outside the job where I was competing, the more it felt like it was some kind of anachronistic shell of a former, existence. It was not feeding the part of me that needed to be fed outside of the job. And I came to this funny realization as I entered midlife that the play that I loved the most, the thing that was most joyous for me and that fed me the best, was reading to my children. And that's about as non-competitive as you can get. You have to be really a little unbalanced to be competing on how well you read to your kids. I don't think that even the most type A among us are there. I'm sure my kids thought that this was also like some wild plot to enhance their education. And at the beginning, it probably was. But as I went on, I found out that was the thing that day by day kind of kept me steady and calm and right with the world. And so I fought to protect that time. Regardless of what I had to do before 7 o'clock at night and after 8 o'clock at night, at 7 o'clock I was planted in that room with my books. And if I was on trial or off on the road taking depositions, the books went with me and the stories were read over the telephone. And bless them. They think it was my commitment to them as a dad, and for me, it was part of what I needed to be able to do the hard job that you're all heading out to do. The point is this: when your time is at a premium, you can't simply give up on play, and you're not going to be able to, or even want to, in all instances, play in all the same ways that you used to. So it's important to know yourself and choose that thing or things that fills you, something that's going to balance you and help complete you and calm you, and something that you can do without turning it into a second job. And then you need to make time for it. So that's my second charge to you. My second charge to you is make time to play at something that feeds you and that you find joy in. I'm in the home stretch. I've talked about work and I've talked about play, and I want to finish to you by talking for a minute about community. The successful, happy lawyers that I know are connected to others, and that does not mean that they are all extroverts or they are all uber networkers. It means that they understand the concept of mutual commitment. If you're really fortunate, then a couple times in your life you end up in a group of people that are going to become more than just friends to you. Aristotle talks about it, and he tries to break down everything, different types of friends, right? And he says you have pleasure friends who are fun to be with, Feb Club, and you have friends of convenience who make life more convenient in 1,000 ways, and you have true virtue friends who make life worth living. And your true virtue friends are the ones that you have been through something significant with. They are the ones that you have lived among, and they are the ones who you formed a deeper bond with than you formed by mere friendly association. This place creates that type of friendship. It's one of the things you're known for. It's the reason people like me who have no connection come to this place. And in talking to students and alums who, it's interesting to see the light bulb go on sometimes about the power of this community's network. And I've had people actually say to me, it doesn't make any sense. It's almost tribal that people will want to work together on something because they attended the same little professional school in a small city in the middle of central Virginia. And what I say is it's not tribal, it's familial. You have a month remaining before you graduate. And you can walk away from this place with, fond memories of a very nice 3 years. But you can walk away with a lot more than that, too. Charlottesville is not Eden. It's close. We have our dust-ups and we have our disagreements at times. But at the end of the day, there are very few communities that I've seen that function as well or as highly as this one. And the fact that it's remained so, even through a crushing recession and all the negative forces that has unleashed, is truly remarkable. So in your remaining time together, before the four winds kind of blow you out across the country and the world, I'd suggest two things to you. First, I would really spend this time to broaden your circle of friends. If you have a classmate where a hurt exists between you, mend it. And if you have someone who is a friend and has drifted away, reconnect. I would really make this next month be about coming to broaden the scope and sweep of the friendships that you've made in this place. And then secondly, I would say commit yourselves to one another. Our founder was involved in writing something once that talked about pledging to each other our lives and our fortunes and our sacred honor. So do that. Find your friends and take them by the arms and look them in the eyes without blushing or giggling. Commit yourselves to each other, that you will stand by each other through thick and thin in the years to come. This doesn't mean that during these busy years you are going to be able to maintain 350 perfect little friendships all over the country or send out an encouraging Facebook message every morning. That's not realistic. But this is. Pledge to each other that when one is in need, all will seek to assist in the way that each can. Pledge to each other that when one achieves, all will celebrate without envy. That when one suffers a loss, all will mourn. And then when one is in error, all will forgive. Take the separate strands of your lives, and weave them together into a multi-strand cord that can't be broken. Life is better with others, and you have this wonderful group of people around you that you've shared these 3 years with. And so my third charge to you is that you care about and care for each other in facing the challenges that the future brings you. So I've got one final piece of business. You'll be glad to know I've done all the charging that I'm going to do. My middle son was joking with me this morning, my Ben, and said that instead of a lengthy speech, I should walk in tonight and walk up to the podium and glare down at you and shout, "Charge!" and then kind of turn on my heel and walk out. And some of you are likely agreeing with him right now. But as I thought about his joke, it got me thinking. You may or you may not recall that when I spoke to you on your first day of school, I talked about the tremendous potential that you all have to make a difference in this world. And I still believe that. That is what gives meaning to my job. And so in addition to charging you, I'm going to have the presumption to do one other thing. I'm actually going to, like the general yelling charge, I'm going to commission you. And so as you head out into a world that is far too often characterized by incivility and brokenness, I commission you to go out and show by your example what it is to care deeply about your work, what it is to feed yourself with joyful play, and what it is to be part of a strong community of mutual commitment. These things are all second nature to you as UVA law students. They are why you came here most likely and why this experience is different from all others. So go out with your wonderful millennial optimism and energy and passion and make a difference. And then come back and tell us how it went. For you will ever be in our thoughts. Thank you.